You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share facts.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We'll do it live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't faze me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing believer. Time to do. Hey, Charlie, wake up. Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerd to Know Bases here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. As always, we have Dara.
Ahoy.
And I'm Kev. How are we doing, Dara?
Good, man. Good. Welcome back from the Rona.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. It was off last week. First, big review of the summer. Hot new news coming in. Hot review. Getting COVID. My review, don't. It is gnarly. It completely sucks. I spent like a week in bed just kind of dazed watching. Now I will say what it gave me, because obviously your brain just fogs the way up. So I didn't get a chance to watch like a lot of like stuff I meant to watch. So like anything new was completely off the cards. Yeah. Like I could not focus. So I ended up rewatching the entirety of She-Ra and the Princess of Power over that week, which I am going to just completely pull my soapbox out here and go to bat for this show every single time. I love that show to bits. It is a wonderful little action adventure cartoon. In the same kind of vibe, similar kind of vibe of Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Where it's just a really well constructed, just fantasy action adventure, and it's done. It is all one complete package. 5 seasons on Netflix with 50 episodes.
What a lot of people want sometimes is the full experience, which is why some people wait for they binge watch. I was actually talking to Katie yesterday. She's not here this week because she's not feeling great. So we were talking about The Boys yesterday, and I was like, Boys is a great binge show. And she's like, I don't like waiting. And I'm like, oh, that's fair. But for me, I never, I started watching The Boys when it came out, and they release it, I think 3 episodes a week. And I just stopped watching it this time around when it was happening. So, I mean, I finished watching it yesterday, and I prefer just watching full experience shows like that.
Yeah. Like that's for something like that. Like She-Ra is so easily digestible, and kind of works like it doesn't have what I would consider like kind of filler episodes. Its pacing is kind of snapshot enough that if you were to watch just one episode, you feel like you only got half an experience. Where you kind of need to watch about 5 episodes to kind of get through an arc and have a kind of an adventure and have something kind of satisfying with characters happen.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of have that balance as well, because it's like there's so many shows out there where you have to have that investment as well. But being able to drop in and have like it's a mix between fast food and a good meal, where you're like 2 or 3 episodes are enough, and then you can go away and do something. But I mean, it's also good you can binge it as well. Yeah. And I think that's the sweet spot of modern television, but I haven't seen it. So, I mean, when I got COVID, I lay in bed playing the Switch because that's all I could do.
I like the fact that you had like the mental capacity to push a button. Crazy. That seems wild to me. Doing anything, don't know how you did it.
No, but I couldn't sit up. So I was lying on my side playing the Switch. I mean, it was. I don't know, man. I've had it twice now at this point, and it. I don't know. It's not fun. So stay safe, everybody, because it's not fun.
Yeah, no. Wear your masks, wash your hands, take care of yourselves. But just actually, in kind of other kind of modern stuff, when we're talking about TV shows and kind of how we digest them, obviously the modern format is binging, is dropping all these things and binging in one go. But I've actually been having the absolute best time watching Better Call Saul.
Oh, it's a great show.
Week.
Yeah. It's a great show.
It's finally the latter half of its final season. Its first episode started again this Wednesday, and it continues to be just one of the finest TV shows.
I mean, it's just one. Like, I didn't really like Breaking Bad that much. Like, it's fine, but Better Call Saul is just unbelievable. There's
something about the way Vince Gilligan can just create a shot where, like, the first shot of like this episode is just a shoe drifting in and out of like a set of waves, and it goes on uninterrupted for about 2 or 3 minutes. But I couldn't stop watching because whatever way he has it lit and the composition, it's engaging to watch. But also in the back of your mind, you're thinking, because by the end of this episode, that shoe will have had an entire journey and how it got there and what that shoe means to the actual grander plot. And so your mind starts spinning. It was like, whose shoe is this? What are they doing? There's not a beach in Albuquerque, so why is this shoe in the ocean? Vince, what are you doing, you absolute madman?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing about it is, it's like, you want to have that. Like, it's that whole universe exists on that setup and payoff. I think it's Occam's razor is what they call it, where you have, they introduce something, it's going to come back. And even from the first,
you're taking the Chekhov's gun.
That's a Chekhov's gun. Sorry, Occam's razor is the most obvious thing. Is usually the answer? Yeah. Is that it?
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. I knew it was one or the other, but I didn't know which one it was.
Occam's gun, it's something.
Occam's gun, it's there, something. But I mean, that's what I really liked about that universe in general was that everything was very purposeful. It's like a Stanley Kubrick movie. Everything that is brought in is going to be used at some point, or as a reference to something, or it's set up. That stuff just doesn't happen, which is why it makes it so unnerving at a certain point as well, because you're like, when's the other, excuse the pun, when's the other shoe going to drop?
Precisely.
And it's great. And it's great to hear that in its last season, it still retains that. It hasn't dropped any quality. Like,
yeah, I like it's just on the format as well. Like, it's a show I am happy to wait each week because I think I need that week.
Yeah,
to just kind of soak in it and really digest kind of everything that's happened.
You see, that's the other side of binging TV shows, where people are like, oh, there's so much to watch, and then you kind of miss it. And again, like, I remember, you probably remember this too, when you were growing up and you go to school and everybody would have watched the same show. Everyone would have watched the same thing.
Well, that's big, assuming I talk to people in school. Like,
well, I mean, school, college, whatever. All your friends. You still.
I understand. Yeah,
everyone had the same cultural experience where you're like, "Did you see The Simpsons last night?" Yeah, it was awesome because there were like 4 channels. So it's very, very hard to have that with people now, where you're like, "Oh, you binged it all, or it's gone." But it's that conversation. And I mean, I'd love to say it's on Twitter, but Twitter's the worst place in the world.
Oh, Twitter's a hell site. Yeah, and it's the conversation you're looking for is on Twitter. You'll just have to scroll through a lot of racists and a lot of porn.
Well, and the rest. And the rest. I mean, that's just putting it lightly. I'm just not a fan of Twitter. I go on it and I'm like, why am I here? But as you said, you just don't get that. You don't get that conversation, or if you do, it's very limited. Now, because the thing was, I would be on Twitter a lot for wrestling, and that's the only kind of shared experience. Like, if you're a wrestling fan, you're on Twitter, it's great. Don't get me wrong, it's actually really, really good because you can actually have that watched experience. Or I'm assuming if you watch football or whatever, you can have that too. But
yeah, like wrestling kind of seems like the sort of show that kind of hinges on those sort of events, though, as well.
it does. No, absolutely. So I mean, like you can sit there and live tweet Raw or SmackDown or AEW or whatever, and you'll have that shared experience, and it'll be great, and it'll be exactly what you're looking for. But then if you're like, giving an MCU hot take or something, you're like, oh my god, what have I done? So I just try to avoid Twitter as much as I can, which is why if you're on Twitter, you'll just see me talk about wrestling and cybersecurity. Usually that's about it.
That's fair. That's completely fair. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because even with like things like the MCU, which are probably like the biggest pieces of cultural touchdowns right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will just kind of miss some of them. Like, for example, Miss Marvel. Yeah. Which it feels like me and Kian are the only people on the planet who have watched it.
But I mean, look, me and my mom would watch a lot of the MCU, right? I kind of got her into it, and she would be a big fan of it, and like a bigger fan of it than me, which is wild. Yeah, she was watching. She goes, "I watched one episode, turned it off." I was like, "Okay." And I mean, why? And she goes, "It just didn't do anything for me." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I mean, here's why I think, like, I haven't seen it, right? So I have read the run that's based on, and it wasn't great. But here's what's happening. The MC, and I heard this comment from someone, I can't remember who it was, the most expensive series of television ever, for the MCU. That's the wrong way to look at it. It's not a television show. They're not movies.
Yeah.
They're comic books.
I think I heard this. I think I heard this from you, so you definitely heard it from somewhere.
Yeah, I heard it from somewhere, but I don't know where you heard it, because I only heard it during the week, and we haven't talked.
Oh, weird. I thought I could have sworn I heard it from you.
Oh, wow. Fair. Well, you're going to hear it again. So
no, exactly where you're coming from, because it's like, where before Endgame, it felt like everything was building up to that, was kind of leading and building on top of each other. Everything since then has just been, hey, we've got this world. Here's a bunch of just stuff that's happening.
Yeah, and I was reading, I think it was Den of Geek or something, and they were like, hey, why Marvel needs an Endgame level threat or something for Phase 4. And I'm like, fair, but these are just comics now. And the thing about it is, it's like, if you buy comics, I don't know if you buy comics or not, Kevin. I don't know if you have. I have over 1,500 comics, right?
No, I was never a comic guy.
I routinely collect comics. I don't do it as much anymore because there's nothing really to collect, but I have a substantial comic book collection, right? And the way it works is people are like, where do you start with comics? I can't buy comics every week. You don't. You buy the runs that you like, and you can ignore the others and kind of be caught up when people come in. And that's what's kind of happening here. You don't have to see all the Marvel stuff anymore. It's not relevant. Like with the MCU stuff, you didn't even have to see all of it, to be honest with you. It made it a better experience, but you didn't have to. And now with this, and particularly with stuff like Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, The Eternals. The Eternals is one of my favorite Marvel movies, right? And people just hate it and probably wouldn't see it. But that doesn't matter, because it's a comic. It's a comic book. They're literally taking that experience. Now, here's the thing: is it really expensive? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you justify 250 million for something that a lot of people aren't going to see? No. But that's what's happening. And
I can't see Moon Knight building up to a grander climax.
And it didn't.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, it didn't. And it's like, this is the only place it could go. It's a living, breathing universe, a lived-in universe. So in order to have that lived-in experience, either you need to have a story which dwells on that, which you can't, because it's too slow for an MCU movie. So you have to fill it with people. Miss Marvel, I mean, like, look, again, I haven't seen it. I have read the run, so I kind of know what happens. I know what happens at the end, and it's setting up to the next Captain Marvel movie, right? So that's what it's setting up to, the Marvels. Fine, but you have to lay that groundwork, and it makes more sense to do a groundwork in a throw-off movie, which series or movie, which you can go back to and watch at some point, than spending all this money on a movie that no one's going to watch, or that would be better served in a different slot. And sorry, go on.
And see, here's the thing, actually, what I liked about Miss Marvel, like you were saying, with all of these things now, with the way the MCU is working, is that it kind of is standing on its own. Yes, it is building up to yes, it's building up to the Marvels, so the crossover, not just Carol Danvers with Monica Rambeau, that's going to be a whole big thing, which this series has actually kind of gotten me excited about because I really enjoyed this character now.
Yeah.
But it's its own little story that just kind of really worked on its own that I found incredibly charming.
Well, that's what you need. Like the thing that it is, this run didn't sell that well. I remember when it came out, I have the first issue. I remember buying it for €1 in the sale rack. It did not sell well. She's a very hard character to actually like. She's very annoying. And even in the PS5 game, she's like the hardest part. She's the hardest part of that game because
it feels like nothing about that PS5 game was likable or easy.
But she's a huge part of it because they sell it as an adventure game and she's the main character. And you're like, oh my God, they picked the worst character possible for this. Yeah. However, that being said, all of that being said, doing it this way was smart because you know what you're getting into. You're getting into this character. You're getting into her world. It's her story, and it's not selling you something else. If they had the way they brought in America Chavez into Doctor Strange 2, right?
Yeah.
Her run was atrocious.
Right.
Oh my God. One of the worst characters in Marvel history. And you can quote me on that because that is a fact. Right. It's a fact. The run is awful, right? And the MCU guys even pretty much said that, right? They're able to rehab her to such an extent that you care about the character, that you're interested in seeing her get back to her mom's, that you're interested in seeing her develop and grow, right?
Yeah.
So fair play. Like, I don't think people understand the rehab that the MCU did to that character, right? They actually managed to fix it, right?
Right.
Miss Marvel didn't really need to be fixed. It's the run didn't go anywhere. It did all this great stuff, and then it's like, there she is. Again, this is from an outsider's looking at comics. It if that run didn't sell well, it still seems like she's got enough of a following because she still seems like one of the flagship characters of the Marvel comics now. And so the Marvel comics are selling horrendously.
Fair.
I have not bought a Marvel book in years. They are awful, dude.
But
awful.
I would.
No, they are. You can look at the numbers yourself, folks. We've covered this before. Marvel books are not good for many reasons because they're not telling stories. They're not doing interesting characters. And look, comics never really sold that well anyway. I mean, we made the joke, you go to comic book convention and where's the quiet place where the comics are, right? That's where usually I'm hanging out. I'm looking for, comics that I want. But I mean, these characters can be rehabbed in the MCU. And I mean, like the fact you had such good experience with her in this, I mean, that's a testament to what I just said. They're able to actually save bad characters by humanizing them and giving them something to do. And again, I haven't seen it. I'm probably going to watch it, going to enjoy it. Now, again, my mom watched one episode and that wasn't for her. So, I mean, we'll go back and watch it again, I suppose, and it'll be, a little bit better. But
so I just kind of, I think what it seems like, because it does what I don't think has been done in the MCU so far, in that it is very much a teen drama.
Yeah. I mean, that's needed, right? It's like, hinted at Spider-Man and some people didn't like, look, with the MCU, by snapping 50% of the world's population or the universe population, you can't really go bigger than that without Galactus coming in. But then you have nowhere to go, right? You bring Galactus in and then you keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they've already gotten bigger and bigger and bigger with the cosmic stuff. We'll get onto Thor 2 and Thor 4 in a second. But I mean, you have to go smaller. And that's what we had kind of thought they were going to do. They were going to go smaller. We didn't know they were going to go like this small. But it fits along with the same kind of thing with Moon Knight.
I mean, if you're waiting for them to go small, you got to wait for that next Ant-Man movie. But yeah, no, like it's got that small stakes. Like, arguably, it doesn't really even have much of a bad guy, barring government. Like, it's literally like the only kind of antagonistic force in. But there is a bad guy. It's complicated. It's not like a villain.
Yeah,
but like the main antagonistic force in it is the Department of Damage Control,
right?
And one of the agent goes rogue.
Well, yeah, I mean that's if you read the comics, it's
so like the kind of the driving force of this is just, hey, we have this character. Here's how she gets her powers. Here's how she's kind of figures it out. There's some kind of teen politicking there. What was really interesting about this show is that it is, and I've talked about this with Kian a couple of times, but it really leans into it. Definitely, it's evident that it's been made by specifically Muslim creators trying to using this show as a platform to educate people on Muslim history, particularly Pakistani Muslim history. And specifically, one of the core plot points of this show is the partition of India and Pakistan in the early 1900s. So from that aspect, it is a fascinating show to watch from an outside perspective. It's incredibly informative. If they've used that poor selling run to elevate, because it has become one of my favorite MCU shows, probably like bar to bar with Loki.
Yeah.
And one of the episodes, it's a small sequence in about the 5th episode, which just kind of jumps back to a short storyline with Kamala's great grandmother, I believe. And it's just this one kind of small incident that has been mentioned in passing up to the show. And it's just this 10-minute sequence. And it is absolutely one of the highlights of the entire sequence, because it's just this one small thing that is so well acted and well executed that tells its own short story and then is wrapped into a jump back to the main plot.
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing about it is you have to hand it to the MCU as well. They are able to make this stuff to a wider base. It's just, I would urge caution with some of this stuff, because I mean, and not because I'm against it, because I don't really care. I'll watch anything MCU, to be honest with you. But you do have to be careful, because a lot of the runs that we have seen so far, the big successful runs, are big successful runs. You know, Civil War, the Infinity Saga, obviously the Origin movies, Demon in the Bottle, any of that kind of stuff, all the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're all standout, solid, real runs, right? That are iconic. Using modern comics is not a great idea. So you walk yourself into this corner where, for example, The Boys. You've never read The Boys, have you?
Never read it, no.
Right. Boys is a terrible comic.
Yeah.
Real bad, right?
I have heard that.
The idea is unbelievable.
Remind me, is it Garth Ennis?
It's Garth, yeah. And Garth Ennis hates superheroes, right?
Yeah.
So basically it's a revenge fantasy where his stand-in kills all the superheroes, right?
Yeah.
And the ending is such a disappointment, right? Now, the show, one of the best superhero shows ever. Like, legitimately. It's fantastic. Because they took the idea and changed everything. They changed everything, right? And that's kind of what the MCU does. And it seems like with that approach where they're able to rehab it. And again, I've no doubt that Miss Marvel is a good show, because, I mean, again, America Chavez is a terrible, terrible, terrible character in the comic. She really is. But if it seems like when this is put in the hands of a competent director, as you said, they're able to run with this and have it. And I mean, my only fear is when it's put not on a competent director.
Oh,
right?
Well, yeah, we've seen that happen a handful of times now.
So if you're because here's the thing, if you're taking Civil War, right, and you put it in the hands of a bad director, people are still going to watch it and you're like, oh, okay, the story's still strong enough to stand there on its own. But if you're taking a bad run with a weak story and there isn't someone well enough to tease that out, going forward, I'm like, okay, just be careful who you're picking. Just be careful which one you're picking, because I mean, but again, it seems like,
I mean, that's it. Like that's kind of the same thing with any story.
Absolutely.
Like Marvel, any movie, any story, any medium, you just need a good writer. Like that. But you're kind of like if you're gonna like even if you're working off a bad run, like as you say, you're talking about the Miss Marvel run. But like it, I believe I think this might be a situation where they probably realized that it wasn't great and took elements of it.
Yeah,
and
I think that's what it
built
sounds like
on
happened.
that.
But here,
And
even with the boys, right?
yeah.
They actually like the boys is very heavy-handed with his message, like extremely heavy-handed with his message.
Yeah, subtleties for cowards.
No, there's no subtlety in the boys in the TV show, right? There isn't. It's very much on the nose, modern politics, like very, 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 very heavy-handed. However, that never gets in the way of the story, because it's written with such, it's so good and engaging where you're like, it doesn't matter, and I mean that's a credit to them, that the fact that, like, again, it's funny when you read the boys, it's so incredibly bad. You're like, there is nothing here. These are not real people. But when you make them real people, that adds to it. Like there's a whole Black Lives Matter subplot in the new series,
right?
And it's very, very engaging. And there's obviously a whole Stormfront isn't being a Nazi thing in the last one, and again, it's very, very interesting how they do it. And the fact that they bring in, and it's like I say with the Miss Marvel thing, the fact that they're bringing in and weaving all this in, that's all great. It's just when it comes to comics, you're like, I'm always apprehensive when I see the run, because I'm like, oh, this could be bad. This could be bad. So I mean, I'm genuinely, I am going to watch Miss Marvel and let you know what I think. Because again, there's been no bad MCU TV show really. There's been some flat stuff in it, and I'd rather they take the risk than not. Like one of the biggest criticisms that I had for some of the early Marvel stuff was there was no risks. And I mean, this sounds like they're taking a good risk to tell a story.
Yeah, like I and even then, I like it's not breaking a lot of ground. I just think what they did was well executed. Okay. Like it's not like, I think it was probably one of the safest things they've done. Like far safer than trying to go to the mass population, like trying to push Moon Knight to the population.
Because Moon Knight was fair enough. I mean,
it was like, okay, no, let's not. Most people watching MCU movies have not read a comic, or have only read a comic because they went to see a movie. Fair. So I'd say solidly 90% of the people that watched Moon Knight had never read it.
I actually, funny you mentioned it. So I was in France. I was in Paris a couple of weeks ago before I got the Rona again, and I was in the Museum d'Orsay, and I was wearing a Moon Knight shirt, and this guy walks up to me. He's like, "Did you like the TV show?" And I'm like, "It was all right. I prefer the comic." And he goes, "Oh, so did I." He goes, I was one of the the VXS artists on it." I'm like, "Oh." It's awkward. So we were talking for a while, and I was like, "Here, it wasn't great." And he goes, "Yeah, it wasn't great." So I did give him an invite to come onto this show, but obviously Marvel have NDAs and stuff, so he wasn't able to do it. But
of course,
if he's listening, it was great to meet you, dude. And it's weird; you never know who you're hanging out with or who you're around, particularly when you're in like big museums on the continent. But I thought that was kind of funny, and just what were the odds? What were the chances?
That's fun, and especially like considering like I suppose we'll use this as the segue, even though it's not a great segue. But I don't know if you've been hearing the reports and the leaks now about how Marvel have been treating their VFX artists.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, like again, like guys, you can Google this. One of the biggest stories at the moment as well, where Marvel apparently a lot of people are walking out and stuff because they're like, the deadlines are completely unrealistic, and it's just like, well, yeah.
Which I mean, like it's showing in the work. Like we spent we spent a while. Like I know it's the next, like after Thor now, the next thing is She-Hulk, and we spent quite a while railing on that trailer.
Yeah,
and like that's like those reports line up because that's a trailer that obviously was only put together because VFX artists had 2 weeks to make it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see it. Like, as you said, it's in the work, and it's even in Thor, the new Love and Thunder. Like, some of the effects aren't great. Like, they really aren't. And I mean, I guess we can segue into that. And look, I'm not a fan of Ragnarok. I think it's a great World War Hulk movie, a bad Thor movie, and I don't like it. I think a lot of the jokes are lame. I think it makes a joke of Thor, blah blah blah. And you know what? It's funny because I've actually been vindicated. Apparently, this is a very common take. But what's interesting is a lot of people hate this movie, and I'm like, but it's like The Last Jedi. I really like The Last Jedi, and I like The Last Jedi because I hate The Force Awakens. And it's this similar kind of thing where people who hate Ragnarok really like this movie. And the reason why I really like this movie is because it's so completely different. Like, I mean, it still has some of the jokes. A lot of them don't land, but I mean, Taika actually wrote this one, and he wrote it. It tells a great story. Like, Gore is actually an incredible character. I like him so much. I actually went out and bought a first edition, first appearance of Gore the God Butcher.
Right.
Yeah, and first appearance of Lady Thor. I know it's annoying. I was collecting the comics, and I had both of them. I sold them.
Oh
yeah, not for a lot.
No, like you'd have gotten a lot more for them now.
Yeah, and I paid a lot more for them now. So
sick.
yeah, annoying. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. So yeah, I really, really liked what I saw. I really thought it was a great movie, great, very, very enjoyable. Does a lot, has a really interesting story too. But I can totally see why people don't like it. Now, there are some of the people who are always going to hate things that are a bit different. It seems like when you give a woman agency, people freak out, which is weird.
I mean, that's pretty whack. I don't understand that. Why people like this?
Or when you give POCs agency, they freak out. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Who let you in here?
Do you not read comics? Like, have you missed what Marvel is? You know,
who let you in here? What? Get back in your bunker.
You know, and they're like, oh, there's lots of LGBT stuff in it. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Have you looked outside? Like,
no, but I'm like, it's Norse mythology. Christ, like, come on, what's wrong with you? So it's bizarre. Like, the thing is that some people are freaking out is weird, you know. But when I was watching it, none of that really even hit me. I was like, okay, whatever. The story itself is actually really, really touching. Like, genuinely, it tells one of the most heartfelt stories probably in the MCU.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, it's like, so it obviously is the Lady Thor, the Mighty Thor run, right? Where Jane becomes Thor, right? She gets the powers of Thor because she has cancer. Stage 4 cancer, is dying. And it actually fills in a lot of their relationship because, I mean, you don't know why they broke up. And it goes to why Thor and Jane broke up, because they were afraid of losing each other, so they pushed each other away. And you're like, well, and Thor is like, the reason why he is where he is because he wants to be, you know, he doesn't want people to see him weak. He doesn't want to be seen as weak again. So it's all about him learning to love. Okay. At the same time, Gore does what he does because his daughter died and the gods didn't help him. So he's on a revenge to kill them all.
Right. Okay. Like, to put my cards table, haven't had a chance to see it yet. Have had COVID. And I'm bummed because I have been super stoked for this movie so long. Hearing you talk about it, I'm so warmed because it's giving me hope because I've been here, like, again, I've been on Twitter. I know that's my own mistake.
Go on Twitter.
I know. To err is to human, you know.
Yeah.
But I have been hearing kind of a lot of back and forth, a lot of contentious opinions. Some people love it, some people hate it. Yada. I'm waiting, obviously, to see it myself to give my own opinion. Hearing you talk so warmly about it has given me so much hope. I am very stoked to see it. Like,
I mean, I don't know what people wanted from this. It's not Ragnarok, but it was never going to be. You know, there's a recurring joke in it, right, where Jane is trying to come up with the catchphrase, and she says like really, really lame lines. But the joke isn't that. That isn't the joke. The joke is she can't come up with a catchphrase, and at the end of it, she wishes the catchphrase to Thor as she's dying.
Okay.
And you're like, oh man, you know, it's just like, it's just these little moments. It's so thoughtful and it's lovely, you know. Like, yeah, it's okay. Some of the CGI is a bit ropey, kind of doesn't hang together well. But I mean, when it does some really cool things, like when you go to the Nega realm or the negative, I can't remember the name of it, something like the Nega realm or something, negative realm or whatever, where it's in the center of the universe, where Gore is going to go to eternity, where he can get his wish to kill all the gods. And it's shot like a weird black metal music video. It's like, man, This is so eerie. You know, it's actually great. And I'm like, whoa, This is awesome.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. I'm gonna draw a line here because I've been trying to avoid as much of this movie as I can.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go into too much, but I mean, I haven't really spoiled anything to be honest with you. But
Sure.
it's just a fantastic film, and it's funny to see this dialogue. I'm like, what movie were you watching? Like, genuinely, what movie? And it's like, is it coming from something else where you're like, or is it a legit concern? Like, I heard people comparing it to Batman and Robin. I'm like, no, like, no. I mean,
No.
Batman and Robin was literally made to sell toys. That was in the contract.
Yeah.
This movie had a story and has a heart, you know? It's crazy. I mean, I don't know, man. Like again, read the comics. They're in the books. Nothing's happening there that hasn't already happened in the books. You know, now is it turned around a bit, change, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, obviously. But I mean, and it also introduces, now I will be honest with you, the post-credit scene. Do you want me to talk about the post-credit scene or not?
No. Okay. I'm again hardline. I still do. I want to watch this movie.
Okay.
I want to be clear about that.
No, that's fine. The post-credit scene does introduce a big character in Marvel, right? Well, big-ish. And it kind of ties into what happens in the movie. And he does look pretty terrible. But then again, when I was watching the Eternals and they introduced, was it Harry Styles? Was that who it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He looked awful. So I mean,
I mean, that's something going back even to like the early days of Marvel. Remember when Thanos was blue?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like you can't really, Marvel post-credit scenes are very rarely canon.
They are put together the night before release.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't remember when Chris Evans wore the big fake beard, or no, the fake chin to cover his beard.
Oh.
By the way, and in The Boys, they introduced Soldier Boy, who's Captain America if he doesn't care.
Okay, no, because like you had me like I was gonna ask to clarify that you did not mean Soldier Boy, as in
no Soldier Boy, like the actual the character, not the rapper.
Not the rapper, yeah. No, okay, just want to make sure. Want to be clear.
Fair.
The Boys taking a hard left turn into 2007 memes.
No, Soldier Boy is basically Captain America if Captain America doesn't care. And he's deadly. He's actually one of my favorite characters.
Wait, hang on. Wasn't he in Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
That's it. Like, and you actually like riff on that. They riff on him completely. But see, I'm a big fan of US Agent anyway. I have the first appearance of US Agent. That's how much of a fan I am of him.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, Soldier Boy, you're awesome. It's like, so I was just like, oh man. It's a good time. On the one hand, it's a great time to be a comic fan, and it's also the worst time to be a comic fan because you're like, oh yes, we dealt with all this in the comics, and now they're in movies. Okay, welcome to the conversation, everybody. Just go in with an open mind, everybody. Comics are weird. Just go with it. It's fine.
Or you just do what I do and avoid any sort of mass Marvel or DC stuff. And the only comic you ever buy in your life is Saga.
Saga is great though.
Saga is great.
Great.
I'm waiting patiently for October for the next trade to come out. I'm not buying issues. I'm not getting into that. I'm a trades guy.
Berserker's good as well, actually. The Keanu Reeves book. That's really good.
Oh, I haven't read that. Sorry. I was thinking about Berserker, which, hey, listen, Berserk is great.
It is, but we're talking about different things.
Yeah, no, I'm actually glad to hear that's cool. I might give that a shot. Listen, there's also just good like single runs out there by just people who are not Marvel and DC. Comics can be good.
Yeah, like I mean, Marvel's still great and still has some of the greatest runs of all time, but modern Marvel's just. It's because they have nothing to say. Like they DC reboot their universe so much that they can restart things and tell these stories again in different ways. Marvel had until a couple of years ago this continuity gone all the way back to the 30s, and then they wiped it all. And I mean, now it's just no one really has anything to say, and if they do, they're too busy, either trying to sell you the message rather than like. There's a great quote from Stan Lee where he's like, "Yeah, I never tried to put my politics in it. They were just there. It was on the side. It wasn't a focus of the story. It was just part of the story." Which I mean, look at the X-Men.
Yeah, I mean, like there's always, your own bias is always going to leak into it.
Absolutely, but I mean, I think one of the problems with main Marvel is like I can't tell you a good Marvel story for the past 3 years. I can't do it. There isn't one. The last one, yeah, no, Spider-Verse. That's it. Spider-Verse is the only one where I'm like, yeah, it's great. But it's funny because Marvel are doing Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is one of the best comics. Period. It's unreal.
Oh, was that the one that started about 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Now that you say it, I did read the first couple of issues of that, and that was
good.
Great.
It is brilliant. It's fantastic.
That's one with the psychopath versions of R2 and C-3PO.
Yes,
they are excellent.
And he goes into Jocasta, like a lot of stuff where he's going into the temple and fights Jocasta Nu, and oh man, it's just brilliant. I mean, like Marvel still can do it, but it just seems like once you put a cape on, well, I mean, Darth Vader has a cape too. Once you put a superhero cape on, they just kind of lose the run of themselves. So I'm hoping Marvel kind of pull it together, but it seems like because the MCU is the focus, that's where all the rehab and the storytellers are going, and the comics are just kind of like hobbling on.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's like it's where the money is. That's
actually, hold on, I lie. I'm a liar. I am a liar.
Oh, big of you to admit it.
Yeah, no, hold on. The last run I bought, the last comic from Marvel that I got, Kang the Conqueror.
Okay.
And the full run is called There's Nothing Left to Conquer. Or Only Myself to Conquer, right? I think that's what it's called.
Uh-huh.
It is fantastic. And that's it.
Well, I suppose that's really interesting that's the one, considering, like, obviously things are very scattershot with the MCU at the moment. But if we're to kind of believe the way it's looking, Kang is kind of setting up to be the next big bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's why they did the run. It's only 2001. It was out last year. And then it finished this year. And it's the only one where you're like, actually, that's really good. There's a story to tell. You're kind of familiar with the character, but you're not really. It has all those magic elements. So Marvel still can do it. But it just seems like they don't want to, And I mean, that's what's annoying, because you read a DC book or, and you're going to get a good story 9 times out of 10. Now, there are some terrible DC books out there, but they get cancelled super quick. So the editorial hand in DC just seems to be more kind of like, right, what are we doing? With Marvel, if it's not a Spider-Man book, you're really taking your life in your hands, like you might as well just throw that money down the drain. But Kang, I was like, the big event books, they seem to like come together for good things, Captain America has been bad. There's a reason why I don't have a pull list anymore. I used to spend €40 a week on comics, and now I will maybe buy 1 or 2 every 2 months. At
this point, it's better off for you to wait and just see how the run actually
works out. Yeah. Or even like, you'll jump in and you'll be like, well, what's going on? And you'll see and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like there's just, they haven't even come up with a good villain or something in a long time. Like I think Gore's the last big villain they came up with, and he's only like 2014. So that's nearly 10 years at this point. Wow. And that says it all. That creativity you want to see coming back. But again, do you put all the focus into comics or into the MCU? And I mean, it makes more sense. That's where the money is.
I'm just after actually remembering, did you it's completely side to this, just another aspect, which is something that like Marvel as a whole has really just managed to fall on constantly. But we got one decent pull out of is video games. Did you play that Guardians of the Galaxy game?
I didn't, actually. I didn't. I want to, but I didn't.
I think it was fairly well received. I will go to bat for that game. It's not a masterpiece by any match, but it's just a very fun character action game that just tells a very fun Guardians of the Galaxy story. Like it's wild to me that like in all of these years of the MCU having been this monolith property that like have been dominating just culture, that we managed to get 2 Marvel games. One of them was a flop of a live service, and then a decent Guardians of the Galaxy game. And like it's obviously done. It was written by people try and kind of keep it halfway out of the way of the movie, but recognizable enough that people who watch the movie would get it.
Yeah.
But obviously people that just have like written by people who have a love for Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it, and it's just little things about the characters, like how Peter Quill and Gamora are purely platonic in it, but their friendship, like she's still kind of fairly bristly. She's only still kind of recent to the team, only recently been gotten out from under Thanos. There is a running subtext or a running joke or a joke, a kind of a thing in it that everyone fully believes that Drax kills Thanos in this. Like to everyone who meets him, Drax is the most powerful being in the universe because to everyone he murdered Thanos. But Drax is like, no, I didn't. Drax is like, I fought him for a week straight and he is not dead.
But look, I mean, that's what you want. Like that was the biggest problem with the PS5 game or the Avengers game. I actually rebought it on the PS5 to kind of give it another go. Because I like to punish myself, it turns out.
Yeah, it turns out, yeah.
But I mean, that's why I skipped the Guardians of the Galaxy, because I'm like, oh no, I'm not going back there again. So yeah, I mean, it's good to hear that. That's because I think the same people who are making it are making the Teen Titans game.
I don't know what the story, like, okay, they might be making a Teen Titans game because I don't know what the crack is now with the Marvel license, because that Marvel license that Eidos had got sold off in that Square Enix fire sale to buy into NFTs.
Oh man!
So that's I can't.
No.
Do you know what? It was not THQ, but the company that was THQ. Can't remember the name. They bought it now, and they're pretty good at those kind of like it's that mid-marketing game where it's not the most polished AAA game that's like your blockbuster
but
release.
They were always the best game.
But that's the thing. So that like game, they're probably still going to release it like 70. Wait for Guardians to be like 40 quid. It's worth 40.
Okay. 40. Okay. I'll do it. Like, I mean, but that's what we've been talking about for ages. That those kind of games, that's what you want. You want those mid-tier, like that was the great thing about the Xbox 360 and the PS2. Yeah, you might get this game that you picked up for 20 quid and it's the best one ever. It's like Blood Omen 2 or something, you know?
Yeah. Oh, like you don't gotta tell me about mid-performing platformers. I love Dante's Inferno for the PS3. That game is not worth anything more than 10 quid.
That game is a fantastic nightmare. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Such a terrible game, but also but a really fun game at the same time.
Oh, like no. How many other games do you descend the 7 circles of hell and fight Satan with the absolute largest swinging unit? Like, it's gas.
Well, speaking of which, actually, so as I said, I've been playing on the Switch, and I'm finally getting around to playing Bayonetta 2, and it looks like Bayonetta 3 is coming out.
Yes. Oh, you've absolutely hit one of my pressure points. How did I forget to bring this up?
I don't know, but you're just the guy to talk about it.
Oh my god! Yeah, they dropped a new trailer, and we finally have a release date for the end of October, which
cannot wait.
I'm so stoked, and there's so many things about the trailer has introduced like a whole slew of things that just look like. It looks like there's a fully new playable character in, I think, the witch called Viola. And they're introducing a whole new faction where previously Bayonetta is very war against heaven and hell and witches.
I have no idea what it's about. I don't know what the game's about.
Oh, no, like it's gibberish. It's absolute gibberish. But now they're pulling homunculi into it, which is just kind of that third. It's a whole new third faction. Throw that in there for your big monsters. Fair. But then there's also stuff like there is a weird gilded like mecha version looking Bayonetta now in this. What? And also like just in terms of kind of gameplay effects, there's a lot of big like playable monster set pieces. I am 100% into this game. Man.
Look, as I said, the main thing about this game is it's going to be super fun. I'm looking forward to it. The Switch is fantastic.
Did you see the safe for work mode thing they announced?
No.
They've put like they haven't been clear. There's a lot of different reasons why, but they've put basically an optional like safe for work filter you can add into this. Where
In Bayonetta,
where like previously, Bayonetta, for those of you at home who do not know, is a witch who all of her magic is summoned and used by her hair.
Yes.
Up to and including her clothes being
Yes.
made out of her hair.
Correct.
So when you are summoning demons from the deep, again with your hair, obviously parts of your hair that are your clothes are being used to summon them.
Yes.
So some of the transformation sequences get a little bit risque.
They do.
So, you might see most of a butt cheek, that sort of thing. Tasteful.
Tasteful, yeah. Nothing too wild.
So, like, for reasons that they haven't really mentioned, I think possibly because this is the first one that's been focus made for the Switch, they're very aware that this is going to be played in public, where obviously the first one was made for several platforms back in the PS3 era. Beta 2 was made for the Wii U, so a lot of home console stuff. This one being made for the portable console, they're like, a lot of people are going to be playing these on trains next to people. Let's give them an out. Where it's an option you can set where instead of Bayonetta getting a bit in the nip doing the summons, she will still be covered.
I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with that.
The option is there.
Yeah, I mean, I know when Dead or Alive tried to do the same thing, and they, in order to get around the risque nature of that series, they were like, microtransactions for everybody. That's not the way to do it. That's not. And people were very upset by that. So
it's exceptionally funny for me that, like, Dead or Alive is a shameless franchise anyway. So the fact of like, hey, give us more money so these women will put on their clothes.
No, give us more money so these women will take off the clothes.
Oh, okay.
That
makes sense. That you say it. Okay.
And obviously that really upset people who liked the series because it involved women taking off their clothes.
On the PlayStation 2 where you got it as part of the bundle.
Exactly. It was wild. The last story we're going to deal with here is Persona 3 is coming to the Switch.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
and I love Persona 3.
Well, like, to clarify, 3, 4, and 5 are coming to the Switch.
I know,
so
but I haven't played 3 in years, so I'm looking forward to that one. I just finished like 40 today.
Yeah, so I've actually never played 3. I love to bits 4 and 5. I only got into Persona relatively recently, so like at the launch of 5.
Right.
And loved it with all my heart.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Played 4.
Wonderful game.
Played 4 Golden, incredible. Like, absolutely stellar. But that's it. 3's kind of a difficult one to get because it's not available kind of widely. You'd kind of have to either get the original PS2 or is the PSP version, I think, is the mobile one? Yeah,
PSP is the mobile one. The PS2 is how I played it. And 5 I actually haven't fully finished because it's so long, but 4 was the last one I actually like properly got into.
The thing is I know, particularly as well with Persona 3, there's kind of caveats with both versions where where the original one, it's like, the 3D graphics, the full model, but all the AI, all the party members are AI based except for your main character.
Yeah,
you only control him. Yeah, and I've heard the AI is not great.
No, it's PS2 level. So
yeah,
but the story itself actually carries that through. So I mean, look, it's been a very interesting week when it comes to that. So I'm pumped for it. I think it's August is when it's coming out. I
think they haven't released their dates for 4 and 3 yet.
Right.
They've only released the date for 5.
Right. And when's that?
I think that was autumn or something, like later this year.
Very cool.
I think they're probably going to stagger releases on that one. But they're releasing, it's the portable version of 3 now.
Yeah.
They're released for the Switch. But it would be interesting to see if they kind of update it.
You probably will. They'll probably
I'd hope so.
After it.
I'd hope so. I think that'd be really cool. I'm super stoked. And also just Persona is going to thrive on the Switch. That is a game I loved playing on the PlayStation, but it is a game that is going to live by just the pick up and put down nature.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the Switch is the perfect console for that, even more than the PSP, because the Vita was great as well. That's why I played Persona 4. But speaking of which, and the Switch, so Prime Day was this week. I don't know. Do you have Amazon Prime?
Not really. I use my roommate's Prime Video subscription, but I don't. I wouldn't be.
So I love Amazon Prime. I really do. I think it's great. So every year they have Prime Day, which is a shameless excuse to spend money you don't have.
Oh yeah.
But I managed to pick up Kelowna for the Switch. So that's 1 and 2. Have you played Kelowna?
No, I've never heard of them.
So it's a really cute cat thing, and it's a platformer from the PS2 and Kelowna.
Klonoa.
That's the one. That's how you say it.
Yes. I haven't played it.
Oh my god, you'd love it.
I know. It's what I kept seeing, and now that it's on the Switch, I probably will actually likely pick it up.
I picked it up. I got it for like €40 or something. It was down from like 60. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I love that series, and I haven't actually played any of them in about 20 years. So like, yes, this is great, and I love the way the Switch is just dropping these absolute bangers out of nowhere. It's like, hey, you like Knights of the Republic? Boom, have 2 Knights of the Republic.
Hey, remember this PlayStation 2 platformer? Yeah, here's that one.
It's just out of nowhere. Like,
that's wonderful. It's one I think I remember wanting to play when I was young and just never got around to it.
It's very, very good. And look, and you know what? They actually did clean up the game, it looks like. So they've actually put it through a new coat of paint.
Brilliant. No, I am going to cut us off though because we are at time.
Oh, well, look, that was a good way to end. Also, I got a NAS, a network attached storage device. So I'll review that next week when I set it up.
Yeah. Give us the rundown on that now.
I will.
Yeah.
I will, of course.
Follow me on the Hell site at KevTalkin94. That's where I hang out. That's about it for me for the moment.
Yeah, and for me, again, you can follow me also on the Hell side at DaraWV. I will eventually get around to fixing the website fully. There's some good stuff coming. I have some new integrations that I'm trying to actually get sorted out. Some stability issues, but again, between life, work, code, and everything else, I just haven't got the time to fully do it. But I would recommend going over, follow us at nerdtoknowmedia.com. That's where all our stuff's going to be, all the show's going to be. Everything's always going to be free. So if you're checking us out here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, do go over and check out Nerd to Know Media because we want you there. We want you to be able to interact with us as well. So, yeah, Kev, take us home.
Bye.
Bye.
Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
All right, so you're listening to the podcast. You're like, hey, I'm not in Ireland. How do I get in touch? Well, TuneIn has you covered. That's how you can check us out live when we're on the radio. You go to TuneIn and download the app, or you can check out the live streams on nerdtoknowmedia.com or Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want to get in contact with us, it's very easy. Nerd to Know Media everywhere. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter. Nerd to Know Media Instagram. Nerd to Know Media on Twitch. Nerd to Know Media at gmail.com if you want to reach out via email. Hope to hear from you soon.
Hey, Dara, what are you doing over there in Ireland? With the freaking leprechauns and everything. That's not cool. You should be over here with the cosplayers. At least then you could, I don't know, pretend like you got, I don't know, some kind of thing going on. Yeah, you give me a Brooklyn Blaze. Yeah, with ya. Dara. Yeah, Dara. Why ain't you over here with Joey? Anyway, we missed you, dude. So, this is Uncle Rebo saying,
I love it. All I do is just believe in the heart.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.